The following is a sample from Tax Savage's Basic Tax Preparation course.
Next, I'll discuss an area of income that can create problems for people. Tips are considered income and must be reported to their employer on a monthly basis. They have to report tips of $20 or more in a calendar month to the employer. Unreported tips, $20 or more a year, must be reported on Form 4137. Social Security and Medicare tax for underreported tipping will be attached to Form 1040. It would be easier for a typical employee to report all of their tips to the employer so that the appropriate Social Security, Medicare, and income taxes would be in account, but sometimes this doesn't happen. Wait staff used to have a trick back when most people paid in cash. They'd claim 10% of their tips and pocket the rest. Nifty little trick of tax evasion, and hard to catch until everyone started using a card to pay. But now it's a lot easier for employers to withdraw accurate amounts of taxes from their employees' wages. Taxpayers who fail to report tips are subject to a penalty equal to 50% of the Social Security taxes owed on unreported tips. That can add up quickly for a full-time food server. Taxpayers who earn tips and hide some of their income and fail to comply with the law that requires them to report it can find themselves subject to difficult financial disadvantages. Reporting the incorrect amount of earnings to the Social Security Administration makes the amount of benefits they would receive under Social Security when they retire lower. It affects their earned income credit and the additional child tax credit at tax return time, and it will subject the taxpayer to penalties if the IRS discovers this. I can't tell you how many people came to me with receipts showing how much they paid in childcare that was more than the income they reported to the IRS and their employer. I had to explain that if I filed taxes the way they wanted me to, then they would get caught immediately if there was an audit. That's aside from the fact that if they don't make enough income, they can't get those credits anyway. So while I feel for them with the typical low wages for food servers, valets, and other tipped employees, it's to their own advantage to report that income. Make sure to explain this to your clients so they can correct that going forward. You might need to really lay it out for them because I'm not sure if you've ever been poor, but I have. And when you're really broke, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, as they say. Try to get your clients to look a bit further ahead than tomorrow. Now, it's possible for the taxpayer to make enough in tips that his regular pay is not sufficient to withhold all the taxes he owes. If that's the case, he can give him some money to the IRS or the employer to make up the difference. If he does not cover the entire liability, the employer is required to apply the employee's wages in addition to other money on all taxes for the employee's regular pay, including Social Security, Medicare taxes, federal, state, and local taxes on the tips. Certain situations come under the allotted tips form. IRS requires dining establishments where tipping is customary to allocate tip income to their tipped employees if the employees do not report at least 8% of their share of food and drink sales to their employer and do not participate in the AITP program. This means employers calculate the amount of tip an employee should have reported at minimum of 8% based on an IRS formula, and this amount will be reported to the employee in Box 8 of the W-2 form, separate from any gross income reported in Box 1. Taxpayers with allocated tips on their W-2 must report that amount under individual tax returns, unless they have adequate records to show they did not actually receive the standard amount. This is why the recommendation to keep a record of tips received is so important. Employers are not required to withhold Social Security taxes from allocated tips. So if a taxpayer has allocated tips to report, he must also file Form 4137 and calculate the amount of Social Security and Medicare they have to pay themselves.
This was a selected clip from our course on Basic Tax Preparation Training. For more clips like this one, subscribe to our channel or go to taxsavage.com, where you can see our professional tax preparation software that includes this entire course, a $396 value for free.